Hello everyone, this is Ashirwad. Welcome to my YouTube channel, and in this video we'll discuss typecasting, how to take input in Python, and what are comments. Also we'll take another look at shorthand notation that we discussed in the earlier videos. So let's get started. So first thing we are going to discuss here is called as typecasting. Now if you want to define typecasting, you can simply say that typecasting is a way to convert one type of value into another type. Okay, so let's see this with the help of an example. If I have a variable having the value 10, so what is the data type of this variable right now? It is integer, int. Okay, now for some reasons if I want to convert it into a float type of value, okay, so we can apply typecasting here. So the way of applying typecasting is that after this equal to sign you have to use the type in which you want to convert. Okay, and in this case I want to convert it into a float type of value, so I'll write float here, and then inside the brackets you write the variable you are converting. So a is equal to float a, which means convert the value of this variable into a float type of value. So when you print a, as you can see, it is now showing 10.0, which is a clear indication that it has been converted into a float type of value. Now I also want to mention one very important function here with which you can check the data types of different variables. The function is type. So you can simply use type and supply any variable name here, like in this example I'm writing a. So what it is going to do is it's going to display the data type of the variable. So it shows class float, which means right now the data type of this variable a is float. Okay, so let's see another example. If again I reuse the variable and assign it to an integer value, if you use type a, it now says int, which means it is currently holding the value of type integer. So I hope this type function is clear to you. Now let's see another example of typecasting. If I have a variable x in which I store an integer value 100, and for some reasons I want this value to be converted into a string type of value. So what do you do for that? Say for example I want to store it in the variable s, and in which type I want to convert? String. So remember the technical word that we use for strings is str. So you're going to use str as a function here. That's why I have used these brackets, and inside the brackets I'm going to write x, which means I want to convert the value of x into a string type of value and store it in variable s. So when you press enter key, when you print s, it shows 100. Okay, now it doesn't give an indication that it has been converted into a string here, so you can check its type with the type function type s, and you can see it is showing str here, which means that the value of x, which was 100 as an integer value earlier, is now converted into a string and stored in variable s. Remember there has not been any effect of this on the variable x. So if you check the data type of variable x, it still shows int. Okay, now let's try the opposite of this. If I have a variable s, let me decrease the size of the window. Yes, so if I have a variable s and it is holding a value of string type, although by nature it's a number, but since you have put this value 100 inside single quotation marks, it is now treated as a string value, so it's not a number. So now for some reasons, if you want to convert it into integer, you apply the same process, that is, type the data type in which you want to convert it first and then supply the variable you want to convert. So in this case, the value s, which is of string type, is being converted into integer type, and the result is going to be stored in a. So press enter key, and when you print a, it shows 100, but when you check its type, it says integer. So this is how you convert from one type to another. Let's see one more example where you will not be able to convert a string type of value into an integer type of value. Okay, so if you have a variable s having the value which is not a number, okay, for example xyz100, fine, although this value is containing a number, but this whole thing is a string type of value right now. So the question is, can you convert this string, this entire string, into a number? Okay, let's try and do it, and let's see what happens. A is equal to int s. Straight away it shows error. Now why has that error come? Because this Python system will be able to typecast a value only when the value you are converting is compatible to the type in which you are converting it. Okay, so since xyz100 is definitely not a number, hence you can say it's not convertible into integer. Fine, so these type of conversions will not happen, so just take care of this. So that's it for typecasting. The next thing I want to show here is how to take input from user. Okay, so to take input, you use a function called input. Okay, and you supply a string value here as a message, like enter any value, and since it is going to ask us to enter a value, that value should be stored in some variable, for example x. Let's try this here. X is equal to input enter a value. Now just see, it is asking me to enter a value, and I have to enter something here. Any type of value you can enter. I'm entering 100 value here. So after typing 100, when you press enter, the value 100 is stored in this variable x. So when you print x, it shows its value 100. But here you have to understand that input function has asked a value and you have entered that value in variable x. That is all right, but right now by default this value is of what data type? Okay, this you must know. So let's check its data type. Type x, and it shows str, which means that whenever you input a value by using input function, by default it enters or it is stored in the form of string. That is the case with input function. So you can say input function returns a string type of value by default. Fine. Now the question is, you wanted to enter an integer type of value, okay, and you type a number 100 here, but because of the default nature of input function, it is stored as a string. So what to do about it? The answer is of course typecasting. So you can convert this value. I'm taking a variable a here, again typecasting as integer, and what are you converting? X, the value of x. So now when you print a, it is 100, that's all right, but its type of a is now integer. So this is one way of converting a string type of value which is input as a string into integer. Now you can also use a direct method for doing this, and that is simply type a is equal to int, and inside the int function you use the method input. Okay, of course you type a message here, enter a value. So what's happening here is you are using two functions basically. Okay, so the function inside the bracket will be executed first. So input function performs its action first, that is it takes a value from user, and that value is by default in string form. So that string value is placed here, okay, and then that value is converted into integer value, and then it is assigned to variable a. So let's see if it works. I again enter value 100, and if you now print a, it is 100, but look at its type. So type a, it says that it is now integer. So this is how you can take values from user in integer form. Let's try and make a program of addition of two numbers again, and in that program we try to ask values from user. So for that I'm going to go to script mode, because I have to write number of lines here. So addition of two numbers, so I have to ask two numbers. So let the first number be a, and I want it to be a number, that's why I have to use typecasting. So int input enter number, or enter first number. Fine. Let there be a variable b, int input, and here I am going to write enter second number. So do I have two numbers now? Yes, because I have typecast them to integer one by one. So now I can add them. Let's see, let there be a variable c holding the addition of a and b. So I can write c is equal to a plus b. You can simply print the output as print c. So our program is complete. You have to save it, of course, before you can run it. I'm going to save it on my desktop with the name addition.py. So now you can run the program by pressing run and run module. Okay, so it is asking me to enter the first number, let it be 10, and let the second number be 20, and you get the result 30. So the program is functioning properly. So what happened when you typed 10 here? It took the value 10 because of the input function as a string type of value, and then that string type of value is placed here, okay, and then the value was converted into integer and given to a. Same thing is happening here. The second value was entered in string form by default, and then that value was converted into integer and stored in variable b. So the addition will happen on two numbers, and hence we get the desired result. Now let's try and do one thing. Let me get rid of these int functions. I'm not doing any typecasting here. Now see what happens. Let me save it and run it again. Again I enter a value 10 and 20. Now before I press enter key, what can you think of the output? This value 10 here is a string right now because it has not been converted into integer, and this value 20 is also entered as a string. So if you remember, I told you this in my previous videos, that when you put a plus sign between two string type of values, the strings are going to be joined or concatenated, and this is exactly what is going to happen here. As you can see, the output is 1020. That means 10 and 20 as two different strings are joined together. So these type of mistakes can be done by the students when they are writing code and they are forgetting to convert one value into another as per the program's requirement. So remember, you have to convert it into integer or any numeric type if you want to perform any calculation. Otherwise it will simply join or concatenate. So I hope this concept is clear to you. Now there is one more way you can make this program. Let me enter the values of a and b in the form of strings only. Okay, I'm not doing any typecasting in these two statements. So what you can do is, when you are adding them, you want to add them as numbers, so you can apply typecasting even at this place. So int a plus int b, this is what you call it. So before performing addition operation, what you are doing here is you are converting that string value a into integer and string value b into integer. So again you have two different numbers here, and it should perform the numeric addition and the result should be stored in C. Let's see if it works or not. So you click on file, save, and give it a run. So I enter the first number as 10, second is 20, and as you can see the program still works. Okay, so I hope this concept of typecasting is clear to you, and I hope this taking input from user is also clear to you. Now the next thing I want to explain is called comments. Okay, now comments are simply lines which are not treated as Python statements. Okay, or you can say they are ignored while executing the program. Okay, so for example, let me open a new program in script mode, and in fact I'm going to open the same addition program. Fine. So for some reasons, if I want to write something about this program, okay, it should not be treated as a Python statement. So how can I do it? You put a hash sign here, and then you can write the description of this program, like program to add two numbers. I'm going to save it and run it. As you can see, the program is still working. So it is asking me to enter first number, let it be 10, then second is 20, gives 30. So what happened to this line? Okay, so when Python started executing this program, it treated this line as a comment line, which means this line is going to be ignored by the Python system, and it is not going to be considered as a valid Python statement. But it does not show any error because of this. Okay, if you write the same thing without this hash sign, let me save it and try to run it. Immediately you can see it shows invalid syntax. Means Python cannot understand how to interpret this line. So I hope the concept of comment is clear to you. Okay, that is what, if you want to write any description about your code, you can use that description. You can write that description followed by hash sign. So anything that is written after this hash symbol is treated as a comment. Fine. So there are two types of comments. First is, of course, written with the hash sign. Now this is called single line comment. And what if you want to write multiple lines? Okay, so in that case you have to use triple quotes. So 3 times single quotation marks or 3 times double quotation marks. So anything you enclose between the triple quotes is considered as comments. So let's try and write this multi-line comment in our program. Okay, this is called as multi-line comment. So I'm using triple quotes. This is the opening, and I want to write few lines here, like this is my program. In the second line of addition of two numbers, and let's say if I want to add my name to it, so I can say my name, and this much part I want to be treated as a comment, so I can close the comment now with the same triple quotes. So this entire stuff here is going to be treated as comment line again. So let's test it. File, save and run it. The first number is 10, the second number is 20. The program still works. So when it started executing this program, it simply ignored this area completely. So this is how you write multi-line comments in your program. Now remember, when we discussed the shorthand notation of the operators, we discussed about operations like a plus equal to 10, where a is initially 5, for example. So after executing this line, a will be 15. Okay, so this is what we have already seen. So one thing which I forgot to mention there is a term which is used for such operations. Okay, so they are actually called as augmented assignment statement. Okay, so just for this terminology I am going to mention this again here. So of course if you want to test it again, you can see a plus equal to 5, and when you print a you get 15. So just remember, it is same as a is equal to a plus 5. Okay, you can use this operator instead, and what it is called is augmented assignment operator. So just remember that. So that's it for this video. I hope all the things discussed here are clear to you. If you have any doubt, you can still ask questions in the comment box below. Thank you so much for watching. Do like and share and comment on the videos, and if you like the content, subscribe to my channel. Thank you.